Hey everybody. First video of the new year, and we've decided we'd save a little bit of time. You guys have seen us cut out pattern pieces hundreds of times at this point. So today we're going to make a zip wallet. It has a zip pouch, it has some card pockets on the outside. We are going to have a pattern available on the website, but like I said, we just went ahead and got everything cut out, so we're just ready to assemble and walk you through how to put the pattern together. We're using 4 to 5 ounce veg tan for the main body, and then 2 to 3 ounce veg tan for everything else. We're going to try to do a special little kind of attachment thing to make this a wristlet, but that's not included in the pattern. It's just going to be a strip of leather, so you can either do that or you can omit it from your version. So let's get into it. So the first thing we need to do is install our zipper. So I just have some number 6 Riri zipper tape here. You can use any zipper you like. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to size this to kind of the ends. And then we'll clip some teeth off and we'll trim it down a little bit. But I like to leave myself a little bit extra. If you've never installed a zipper before, we do have a very thorough video just about installing zippers. I'll put a link either on the screen or in the description there. You can check that out. These are not ideal scissors for this though. There we go. So then what I'm going to do is just kind of place this here and lift it up and mark. So I'm going to mark where my opening ends on either side, and that way I know how many teeth to clip off. You just want to be careful you don't clip off too many. All been there. There we go. And then I'm going to transfer those lines transfer the line to the other side of the tape. And then we can split the tape apart, grab our clippers, and start clipping. So once we have our teeth trimmed and everything kind of cut a little bit more, we're going to install our zipper pull. And I'm using a zipper pull that we can attach some leather to, but you can use whatever type of zipper pull you like. And you probably can't see it here, but zipper teeth have a little dot on one side. You want that dot facing upwards, and then we're going to put our pull on there and do our best to kind of get everything even, and it might take a couple tries. Get it? Yep, there we go. So you can see the teeth are even. And we'll pull it up almost all the way and just do a little check to make sure we got our distance right. Looks perfect. So I'm going to take my lighter. This is nylon, so it's got plastic in it. So we can just melt this to seal off our edge so that we don't have any fraying. And we'll do that again on the other side. And now the zipper is ready to install in our wallet body. So we're going to be using a double stick fabric tape called Basting Tape to install our zipper. You guys know it's my favorite way to install zippers. So I just put a little bit on either side. And I like using this because it's not permanent, so if you put your zipper in and it's a little crooked, you can kind of lift it up and replace it, whereas if you use glue, it's a little bit more difficult to do that. I'm just going to use a tool handle to press that down, make sure it's nice and bonded to the leather, because it is basically acting like a third hand. We don't want it pulling off while we're sewing. And then you just lift up the backing tape on each side here, and you're ready to go for installation. When we install it, all I'm going to do is just kind of place my wallet body over the top and make sure the zipper is kind of centered. I think they do make like a jig for this, someone does. But I've always just done it by hand and it's worked out fine. Especially with a short run of this is only a 4-inch long zipper, so it's not really too much to handle. It's a nice beginner project. And then we go to the back and we can see everything is nice and flat, so we're good to go. That's what I like this tape. Should we have had an issue, we could have just pulled it up, restuck it, and this tape will still hold strong for us to stitch everything together, which is what we have to do next with our zipper. once we have our zipper sewn in here, this pocket's just going to get glued in, but before we do all the pocket gluing in, we need to assemble one of the pocket banks, or the only pocket bank. So in the pattern we include a top pocket guide, and that's basically just a piece that you cut out and allows you to mark where the top pocket's going to land so that you know where to glue. And what I like to do is, I'll make my first mark, which is roughly a 1/2 inch from the top, and then I'll just use the grid on my cutting board to make sure that I'm transferring it evenly. We're going to install this pocket first, so we need a little bit of glue. And you can actually glue up this whole thing in one go so that you don't have to kind of wait for glue to dry twice. So I'm going to glue all the way down because I'm going to put my bottom pocket on there once my top pocket's glued in. Once my T pocket, I should say, is glued in. And the pockets all have some trim allowance, so you want to glue, I just glue this whole tab because we're going to trim a bunch of it off. And then on our bottom pocket here, the big guy, we're going to glue in about a 1/2 inch because there's about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch of trim allowance depending on how thick of the leather is that you're using. And we just want to make sure that we catch that glue line when we put it down. So it may be a lot, or it may look like we're gluing pretty far in, but a lot of it's going to be trimmed off, and anything that's left we can just go in with our bone folder and unstick once everything's assembled. So once that's dry, we'll get the pockets installed. I put the logo on the side that the big pocket's going on so you can kind of see, you can differentiate the sides on the video before everything's put together. On this side, I'm just going to mark where the top of the pocket is because there's no trim allowance on this, it just sticks down. And I'm not doing any skiving here, but if you want to go through and skive these edges, go for it. There aren't a lot of layers, so I'm happy just using a 2-3 ounce leather will be fine for keeping our bulk down. So we have our big pocket on, and now we just have to do our pocket bank. So I'm going to use the lines on my cutting board to make sure that our top pocket is perfectly level. This is a fairly easy pocket bank. There's only 2 pockets, so you want to make sure that you get this level because then the only other one to go is the big bottom pocket. And if it's not level, you'll kind of notice. But before we stick this in, we have to do a couple stitches here so that our cards don't fall through. So we're just going to get that done first. Alright, so once we have our card bank done, we have to sew up the one side that's going to be facing the zipper, because this is going to create kind of like another cash pocket, folded cash or other cards or receipts or whatever. You can decide which way you want to go. Doesn't make any difference. I mean, it makes some difference in functionality, so people might have preferences one way or other. I'm going to go this way with the card slots facing the zipper when it's closed. And all we're going to do is just kind of like the inside of a bifold wallet. We're just going to run a stitch line down, but I'm going to run the line for the outside stitch because I don't want these to intersect. So I'm just going to leave like maybe a 1/2 inch here open. It won't affect the strength or anything. It'll just kind of look, it'll be a little design element. Yeah, so we'll get this stitched and burnished, and then we're ready to glue the whole thing up. So now that we have our whole card bank assembled and stitched up, we need to place it on this side of our wallet to glue in. And what I'm going to do is, there should be about 1.5 inches here, right? So you'll have a 1/2 inch from where this pocket ends to where the zipper starts, a 1/2 inch for the zipper, and then another 1/2 inch, and we're going to make our marks here for our card bank so that this gap is the same as this gap on either side. Basically, when we fold it up, we just want these to meet up perfectly. You could see that. So we want to make sure that we glue this one exactly where it needs to be, which we're going to do. Okay, so now if you want, you can just sew this up and you'll have yourself a wallet. I'm going to try something a little bit different that I've always thought about doing, but I've never actually done. So do this with, you don't have to do this, it's not part of the pattern, but I want to try to add a little bit to it. I have this strip of leather here. I think it's about a little under a 1/2 inch. It's just sized to fit through the size of my zipper pull, so this will differ depending on what zipper pull you're using. What I want to do is, I think it's Coach maybe that used to do it, or they still do, where they make kind of wristlets out of normal zipper wallets they add a strap that is attached to the body at one end into the zipper at the other. So when the zipper's closed, you can hold it, and just by the nature of the design, it keeps the zipper closed. And then when you want to open it, you open it and the zipper just kind of goes with it but stays out of the way. So what I've done is I've kind of skived and tapered this end a little bit so that hopefully I'm going to use these teeny tiny rivets that Weaver sells. I'm going to just put one rivet right here. And then hopefully when we fold this over, it should kind of stay out of the way and fit nicely. The way that I size my holes for my rivets, it's pretty simple. I just take one of the rivets, take my rotary tool, and I just kind of go around and see which hole it fits in, because I like to go with the smallest hole that I can possibly use. So then we're going to take, once we have the size of the hole that we need, we're going to take the other side of our pop rivet, which is the side without the post, and I'm going to place it kind of where it's going to end up. And this is just kind of how, when I'm doing a one-off, how I decide where I want my rivet to go. So I get it pretty centered, and then I'm just going to push down, and that gives me my mark. So after that, we can just go in with our rotary punch. We'll punch a hole there, and then we'll go in, this is going to go upside down, so we'll go in here like this, grab a pen, and this will just give us a rough estimate of where to put our hole, and then we can center it on our own here. There we go. So now I'm going to go over real quick and attach this. It's going to be a little sketchy, just because everything's so tiny, but I think we can do it. Alright, so for those of you wondering, because I've used these tiny rivets before, these are the 1/4 inch double cap rivets that Weaver sells. This is solid brass. So basically I just snuck a really tiny rivet in there, and I like these rivets for that reason. Like, this isn't going to be super load bearing, but it is, it's something, it's a wristlet, you're going to carry it. So you want to make sure that you have a good connection, but there wasn't really a good way, like I was going to stitch this into here or do another stitch line. I didn't really like any of those options. This looks really clean and it's going to work perfect. So all we have to do now is glue everything up, sew it, and then get the other side of our handle riveted to our zipper, and we're pretty much done. So I got all of our edges sanded down and stuff before I'm laying our stitch line. And that's just because it is a little bit thick, so I want to make sure that I'm not stitching in a way that's going to look crooked once I get this all sanded down. So now we'll just put our line in, and you can punch from either side. I always choose to punch on the side that has the most stuff. So like this side only has this seam, which is matched up with this seam, whereas this side, I want to make sure that I'm not putting a stitch right in between the pockets, for example. So now we're ready to punch and get this stitched up. So as you can see, if you don't skype, it's going to be kind of a thick one, but I kind of like that sometimes. I like having a formidable edge. The last step, to kind of explain, it's a little too dark today to film because we use all natural light, so it's a little too dark today to film at the press, but basically all I did was we riveted one side here, and then I'm using a zipper pull that I can slide this through, and I'm just going to put two of those little baby rivets right here. And then you can see how it basically becomes a built-in wristlet, but when you open it, it kind of stays out of the way. And this is something that I didn't invent this or anything. Like the high-end fashion houses have been doing it forever. I've just never done it before, so I kind of wanted to see how it would work, and I think this is going to be the perfect silhouette to do it. So let's just pop these rivets in, and we'll wrap up this video and see what the final piece looks like. And here we go. So here's the two rivets. We tried to film it. I don't know if you can see it or not, but here's the two rivets that we just set. And with that, everything's done. And so you can kind of see the layout now. You have a big slot on one side, and then on the other side you have two card slots, but they hang upright from how you hold it, right? So you don't have to worry about cards falling out while you're holding it, really. I mean, I wouldn't go jogging with it or anything. Got another receipt slot there, and then when you open this up, you can use this strap as a pull, and you have a nice... this is like 5 by 3.5, 5 by 4-ish. So you can fit, a bunch of coins or extra cards or whatever you want in there, and then it zips back up. So that's going to be the end of this one. This is a really fun project to make, to be honest with you. It doesn't take that long, and it's very fancy with this pull strap if you want to add that. Remember, we do have the pattern in the description. It's for a couple bucks. Me and Kaylina both worked on it together. It's a joint one from us. And this strap is not included because all it is a 1/2-inch strap. You can make it as long as short as you want and just rivet it right in the middle there in the same order of operations that I did in this video. You'll be good to go. Or this piece will look great without it as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.